Hey, welcome to our Georgia suburban homestead, and my husband's coming out of the house to do what's called a split on our beehive, creating 2 hives out of 1, because even though it's like a month and a half early for swarming, the hive that we sold to a student last year has already swarmed, and we have 1 hive that looked like it was going to, and here I walked out of the house and it's starting to swarm. I'm going to turn the camera. I want you to watch these bees. They're getting louder and they're swirling, which means they are getting ready, the queen's getting ready to come out and swarm. So I've got to ring a bell to keep them home. Hubby's got to get on this really quickly, and here we go. This might be a little bit long video because it takes some time to get this done, but here I go. Can you see the bees swirling? See that swirling going on? They're creating a vortex, and the queen will come out in the middle of that. Charlie, get a move on. Are you coming? Dancing. Now he just put smoke in there to get them calmer, but I don't know if you can see when I was ringing, the bees came down and they're more concentrated. So the ones that are up in the sky waiting for the queen to emerge have come down and they're concentrated. So I'm going to need to go back and do some more ringing here. I might try to bring the camera in, unless Charlie says I'll be in the way. Will I be in the way if I bring the camera in to get what?
Yes.
Okay, so we're stuck here. Do you see? Look at those bees. You see right there? That concentration of bees? That is a you-know-what load of bees of this early in the year. It's mid-March. But he's got to go in there and take some frames out and try to find the emerging queen, or what are we going to do, Charlie? And then I'll go back to ringing this bell here.
Probably going to switch out some brood frames.
He's going to take out some brood frames. And what else, because they can't hear you?
Do some brood frames. Look for freshly laid eggs.
So he's going to look for some freshly laid eggs. Okay, I'll just keep an eye on those bees, watch what happens. Oh, and they're not apt to sting, because I'm doing this without any protective gear, and I'm what, about 5 feet, 10 feet from you, Charlie? 8 feet? We called in several hives, several swarms last year, and this particular hive he's working on is a wild hive that swarmed twice, which is unusual. Those of you who keep bees, you know that. It swarmed twice last year and provided us with at least one split. So looks like as early as it is this year that we're starting, we're going to have to keep an eye on this hive. He just smoked me, y'all.
So these cap cells here
That's a little bit low. Raise it up a little. There you go.
These cap cells here are brood. The ones that kind of stick up a little bit are drones. There are no queen cells on here. Got a little bit of brood over here.
Those aren't queen cells at the bottom of the frame there?
No. Right here we've got some bee bread. She's not been on the spring too much recently. There are not many eggs.
When you're putting that into the new hive?
Well, I'm just putting it here temporarily. Good place to store it, right?
Yeah. Do you need me to ring anymore, or are they pretty much not swarming now?
They're not doing anything. Most of those are orientation events. I didn't really see anything that indicates they were actually swarming.
Well, they were ratcheting up the buzz and doing a swirl, honey. Trying to get this level because I know everyone watching this is probably getting seasick. Okay, I forget what a queen cell looks like.
Alright. So, you might not be able to see it because of all the bees on here, but this frame is nearly full. It's a little easier to see on this side. Nearly full of brood.
What's that?
I don't know what you're pointing at.
Well, this girl needs to move. She's on it. It's gooey.
Well, the gooey is a larva.
That is a larva.
Yeah.
Okay.
Alright. So, sorry.
That is not a queen cell?
That is what would become a queen cell eventually. It's way too small. They are putting on cups.
Can you show us what we're doing? Come on into the camera. like right here, and show us. These are queen cells, y'all.
These are where a queen cell is beginning to be developed. They're too small for a queen yet.
So that's a candidate for the new hive?
Well,
there's more here.
Yeah, well, again, there's nothing in those. They're too small yet, but the bees are ramping up for spring, so at some point those would be possible queen cells. Now, I want to make sure I don't have the queen on this one, this frame. It's a good candidate for going into the new hive because it has so much brood on it. But I'm going to have to find one that either has a queen cell.
There's someone who's vibrating. What does that mean?
No, she might have been trying to get someone to come find something.
And she's gone now. She flew off.
She may have been dancing for the get harvesters to come with her.
So, y'all, that's what bees do. That little vibrating is when they're telling their sisters that they've got a nectar source. Come harvest nectar with me.
Yeah.
Right?
So I need to find a frame with freshly laid eggs. And I need to find the queen.
You know,
may
think
be way deep in here because this box is just full of bees.
you talk about how unusual this is this early in the year.
Yeah, this is a little early in the year, but we've been having unseasonably warm weather.
If y'all didn't hear him, he says it's very early in the year, but we've been having unseasonably warm weather, except from that real freezing day we had on the 11th.
Well, we're in a La Nina. La Nina in the southeast means extra warm spring, extra warm and wet spring.
What is an El Nina or La Nina?
La Nina. It's a cool area in the Pacific.
Cool air in the Pacific.
Cool water in the Pacific.
Cool water in the Pacific.
That creates different weather patterns.
That creates different weather patterns. Well, that's full of, is that brood or bee bread?
That's mainly brood. I don't see any movement where it would indicate she's on this frame.
So what would you look for around if the queen were there?
If the queen were there, there'd be a bunch of attendants.
A queen has a lot of attendants, so they kind of make a little cluster around her?
Yeah, and as she moves, they follow her around and kind of push everybody out of the way.
The genetics on this queen are great, aren't they?
Well, she's pretty swarmy. On the other hand, her daughters will work like crazy, collect things that other bees don't really want to collect from. And so she...
Turn this way.
Since they collect a lot earlier, she builds up a lot faster. And I suck at finding eggs and queens.
Yeah.
There are a few drones in here.
Now remember, if you go to crush the drones, they're going to sting. We learned that the hard way last weekend, that if you start crushing drones,
too many drones,
the
you release too many pheromones.
bees will come after you. But right now, as you see, they're pretty gentle. I mean, I'm standing here without any protective gear on, and you can see how close I am to him. There was a point in history where I would be screaming and running around like a little girl, little sissy girl. They're balling here on the bottom edge here.
Yeah, I saw that.
Would she be there laying eggs and maybe some queen comb?
No. They're just climbing all over some drone drone.
Taking care of the boys. Hope y'all are as amazed as I am at this process.
Okay.
You got her?
No, but there's a lot of dancing going on this next comb.
A lot of dancing on the next comb. What does that indicate?
Well, she may be on this comb this spring.
Now she would be the one that swarms, right?
Yeah, the old queen goes away with the...
So the old queen, the old queen is what swarms. She takes half her workers with her and leaves once she's laid eggs in the queen cells. So in order to split or to keep her from swarming, Charlie, do you need to find queen cells that have been sealed?
Well, a queen cell that's sealed indicates that they will swarm. And they will swarm generally about a week to 3 days before that queen emerges. Though they may actually decide to swarm quite a bit earlier.
What's the life cycle of a bee?
But then, okay. Here's the queen.
All right, come show us.
I'm pretty sure that's the queen.
Come show us, come show us.
Let me watch her a bit.
Bamsey?
Oh, that's not the queen.
All right.
That had to be a drone. Yeah, I got a bunch of drones on this one. Her narrow eyes and long body. But yeah, there was quite a few with pollen packs on their legs, so that's what the dancing was all about.
Oh, okay.
I just swapped the top brood box and the bottom brood box position because typically during the winter the queen will move up into the top brood box and then she will not really lay that well in the bottom brood box unless you swap them. It also makes it a lot easier for me to inspect the other ones. And you'll notice that when I had them both off the hive, the bees were really upset with me and were out flying around. I kind of reconstructed the hive and now they've come back down, they're going back in, they know where to go back in. So now I can inspect the top part. Okay, I shook those off so that I could show you this. We have a little bit of an inversion here, which is an indication of the queen not wanting to go down into the bottom. They filled most of this frame up with bee bread, and then we've got some spotty drone cells on the outside of the bee bread. Typically you will have the brood cells all collected together, and then outside of that will be honey and bee bread. And what has happened here is that the bees were filling the bottom frames with bee bread and nectar, and the queen went down and filled what she could.
Without committing to the lower level. Okay, so you swapped the boxes now?
Yeah, I've swapped the boxes.
Well, that was
The top and bottom.
just had one go by and get tangled in my eyebrow as she went by.
Yeah.
Bees aren't the most graceful flyers, y'all. They'll bump into you if you stand out here in their flight path. They're not going to sting, but they go, oops.
Especially when they're full.
Especially when they're full of nectar or pollen in their thigh sacs. You get bumped into all the time. Yeah, they're not as crazy dancing in front of the hive now.
Yeah.
Y'all see down here? They're not as crazy. They aren't like all swirling all up here like they were when we came out. They're all down here looking at the entrance. You see any going into this other box yet? Over here?
No, I've just got it for storage right now.
Okay.
I have not found any true queen cells. I don't expect to find any on this level. So I don't think she was actually getting ready to swarm. I think that was just a very large...
Yeah, well, you'd rather
Cool.
split them now than lose half the hive.
Well, I've got to find eggs to be able to split and make sure she's not. Can you get him out?
Bamsy, out. Bamsy, out. Out.
Those cells were too small to be a cream cup. They needed to be at least 3 times larger, and they had nothing in them. They had not been packed with food or an egg. So, you know, they were just, you know, someone filling his oats in the spring. Thinking, hey, we may need some in a while. But I'm going to have to also do some waxing frames.
Come talk to the camera, hon.
I'm kind of busy.
He says he's going to have to do some waxings for the frames, which will help them build into the frames. That's another video.
Yes. Yeah. She's got plenty of laying room. During the winter, the queen will tend to move up into the upper brood box and lay up there, and then she won't go back down to lay unless she really has to. But if you swap the boxes, she'll go from laying in the, well, now she's in the bottom box where all of her brood tends to be, and she'll move up and back down because there are new cells in the bottom that have freshly been used for brood. When they open up, they kind of attract her back down to them to lay another set of eggs. So reversing them helps her to
Look this way.
reversing the boxes first part of the spring helps her to increase her laying area, and it helps keep the workers from making her honey bound by filling up the area that she really needs to be laying in. So I don't think we're quite ready to make a split. See how this one's not even full of brood or anything?
Look how gentle these bees are, y'all. So far.
So, I'll do this one just.
Right now what he's doing is unsticking the frame that they glue down. That's what that tool is for. One little interesting fact that you all may like is we have seen both hummingbirds and wrens come in the morning and land on the top of these boxes.
And take a bee.
And they'll pick a bee right out of the air and have a meal. Yes, even hummingbird will eat bees. So if you see bees at your hummingbird feeders, don't think that the hummingbirds are afraid of them or being parasitized by them, because the hummingbirds will turn around and eat them. First time I saw it, I'm like, oh my gosh, Charlie, come see this.
Well, hummingbirds need protein. Everybody feeds them sugar water. And where they get the protein from? Eating bugs.
That's why you want to put hummingbird feeders in your garden. Get them in eating all those pest bugs. After a while, this buzzing that you hear, we had 7 hives out here, and literally when you walked into the backyard, the air vibrated. And it was comforting in kind of a interesting way. And then when the neighbors poisoned our bees and it was silent, I just sat and cried. It was such a hollow, empty, sad feeling when they all died. So hopefully we won't have a repeat of that this year, right, Charley?
Yep. Go look up Rachel Carson's Silent Spring.
What's Rachel Carson?
Yeah, she wrote a book in the 70s called Silent Spring.
Silent Spring, Rachel Carson, a book she wrote in the 70s. What's it about, honey?
Well, she kind of started the environmental movement in the 70s. There was an environmental movement before that, but...
Can y'all hear him? He tends to talk with his back to the camera. Tell us who Rachel Carson was.
Rachel Carson was an environmentalist in the 70s, and she kind of started the environmental movement to a certain extent because of the book Silent Spring. She was one of the first biologists to point out the significant drop in numbers of wild animals in the environment. And she named her book Silent Spring to indicate, you know, how there's a loss of the sound of birds and bees and everything else in the spring compared to the years before. And when Lisa mentioned, you know, the poisoning event and the drop in the amount of sound we were hearing, you know, we could tell that there was something wrong because of that.
I'm going to have to walk away. The bees are attacking the camera. Yeah, and I'm probably next.
I'm reaching the limit here of the power. But there is a frame here where when I was putting the bees in, they started going in the household on one of these frames already. Okay, guys. Move out of the way. downwind of my own smoke. That's going to be one heck of a hive, except that I'm going to break it into two. But what Lisa was seeing was a very large orientation flight. Oh boy, I think I got one down my neck. Got something down my neck. No.
Okay.
Trying to smoke myself so that
Smoke yourself? Well, smoke me too. They're around me.
I got 2 or 3 guard bees that are a little upset with all the work I've done.
Thank you.
Smoke the camera. They're on the microphone for the camera. That's helping a little. But we're a long way from the hive, and the guards bees were stopped thinking of us as a threat and returned to the hive. And we'll leave it alone till toward dark, and then I can collect some of the drone comb that I cut off, and they will calm down and gone back in to rebuild any damage that I did. They're going to re-glue all those frames back together. They're going to re-glue the boxes back together so that no air can get in, no rain can get in, and they'll be happy again. But I did switch the boxes. There was obviously she had obviously been laying mainly in what was the top box, and now she'll start laying in both. And maybe this weekend, if I find some eggs in that top box, I can just pull it off and set it on the new bottom, and without a queen in there, they will take one of those eggs and turn it into a queen, and then I'll have myself another hive. I will have to put in a bunch of drone, and I'll have to put in a bunch of food, and then I'll probably feed them, but that's how you end up with another hive. So till you see me again, y'all have a good time. Thank you for coming by, and see you later. Bye.